83% of burglars admit they choose targets based on one thing. Not the neighborhood, not the locks, not whether you have a security sign in the yard. One thing: how long it will take them to get in. That's it. The entire calculus of whether your family sleeps safely tonight comes down to seconds. Not minutes, seconds. And here's what nobody tells you: your home, right now, is probably built to fail that test in under 60 of them. I've spent the last 8 months digging through FBI crime data, DOJ reports on residential intrusion, interviews with convicted burglars published by criminologists at UNC Chapel Hill, police department threat assessments, and accounts from communities that had to defend themselves when law enforcement was unavailable, power outages, civil unrest, hurricane aftermath, you name it. Not theory, not paranoia. Documented, measured, verified. 7 concepts. Some require tools, some require only your brain. All of them are things the security industry doesn't tell you, either because the real answer is cheap, or because the real answer requires thinking instead of buying. Most people think home security means a camera and a Ring doorbell. That's evidence collection. There is a massive catastrophic difference. We're gonna fix the actual problem today. Secret 1 comes first because without it, secrets 2 through 7 are just expensive furniture. Most people look at their home the way they look at their car. You lock it when you leave. You don't think about it otherwise. That motto will get you killed, or worse, get someone you love killed. In any scenario where the environment turns hostile, the security mindset is not paranoia. Paranoia is unfocused fear that doesn't produce action. The security mindset is a systematic evaluation process. 2 words: threat modeling. It sounds technical. It isn't. Ask yourself 3 questions right now. Who would want to enter this property without permission? What's stopping them? What happens if that thing fails? That's it. Those 3 questions applied to every entry point, every window, every perimeter edge, every routine you have. Completely change how you see your home. Walk with me for a second. Stand outside your front door. I'm not kidding, actually go stand there. Or at minimum close your eyes and picture it. You're no longer the homeowner. You are someone who wants inside in the next 90 seconds without making noise. What do you see? A hollow core door that costs $23 and takes 1 shoulder hit. A deadbolt that extends 3/4 of an inch into a soft pine door frame. A porch light that puts your face in shadow, and theirs in darkness. You see a welcome mat with a key under it. Yes, people still do this. We know who we are. The mindset shift is this: you must develop the habit of thinking like the threat. Not obsessively, not constantly, but every time you install something new, every time you leave the house, every time your routine changes. Run the 3 questions. Here's where most people get this wrong. They evaluate security in daylight when they feel safe, thinking about whether it looks good. Security fails at 2 a.m. when you're disoriented and it's raining and the power is out. Evaluate for that moment. Always. Only. The second component of the mindset: layers. No single measure is a fortress. A fortress is a system. Every layer you add doesn't just add protection, it multiplies it, because each layer forces the threat to spend time, make noise, or abandon the attempt. A 60-second delay at the door, plus a 30-second delay at the window, plus a 45-second delay at the back fence isn't 2-minute protection. It's deterrence, because most threats are not tactical operators. They are opportunists with a time budget. Run out their budget and they walk away to a softer target. Which brings us to the first physical application of the mindset. We're gonna go build something. Doors. Let's start with what's actually in front of you. The average residential door in America is a hollow core slab hung on a frame built to keep weather out, not people. The deadbolt throw, the metal bolt that extends into the frame, is typically 3/4 of an inch. The frame itself is usually 1-inch pine. 1 inch of pine. Let that settle. There are 2 types of residential door failures. The lock fails, or the frame fails. Most people upgrade the lock. Professional security, assessors almost universally agree that frame failure accounts for more than 70% of forced door entries. You spent $200 on a Schlage deadbolt. It didn't matter. The frame around it turned into a splinter exhibit in less than 2 kicks. Here's the fix. It costs under $40. Strike plate reinforcement. Specifically, a 3-inch steel strike plate with 3-inch screws. Standard strike plates come with 3/4-inch screws that barely reach the door frame. 3-inch screws drive through the frame and into the structural 2x4 stud behind it. You just changed the physics of forced entry completely. Now the force required to kick that door isn't measured against pine. It's measured against structural lumber. We're talking a jump from 100 pounds of force to resist to over 1,700 in some tested configurations. That's not marketing copy. That's from testing published by the Door and Access Systems Manufacturers Association. Door hinge security is the next thing. If your door opens outward, the hinge pins are exposed. Someone can drive the pins out with a screwdriver and a rock in under a minute, and your deadbolt becomes decorative. Install hinge bolts, sometimes called security studs. When the door closes, the bolt locks into the opposing hinge plate. The pins can come out, the door doesn't move. Now windows. The most common window security mistake in America is the latch. A window latch is not a lock. A window latch is a mechanism designed to keep the window shut against wind. It does not stop lateral force on the frame, it does not stop glass breaking, and it definitely does not stop the technique where someone slides a thin tool up between the sashes and lifts the latch from outside. Takes about 8 seconds. I've timed it. Don't make that face. Every burglar has two. The real window solution is a pin lock. Drill a downward angled hole through the inner sash into the outer sash at a 45-degree angle. Insert a removable steel pin or a hardened eye bolt. That window now requires physically removing the pin to open, which can't be done from outside, and the latch doesn't matter anymore. Total cost: $3 per window and hardware. Sliding glass doors deserve their own special mention because they are, without exaggeration, the most common residential entry point used in break-ins. The locking mechanism on most sliding glass doors is a joke, a small latch that extends half an inch into a plastic housing. A hard lift and lateral force, and that door comes off its track entirely. First, a bar in the track, a piece of cut-down wooden dowel or an adjustable security bar. Simple, cheap, effective. Second, anti-lift screws installed in the upper track that limit vertical play. Without those screws, the door can be lifted out of its bottom track regardless of the bar. Both fixes together. Not one, both. Here's something the security industry doesn't want you to figure out, because it doesn't cost much. The most effective layer of home security is the decision the threat makes on the sidewalk before they ever reach your door. Deterrence. Real deterrence, not a plastic sign that says protected by ADT. Those signs are everywhere, and every experienced burglar knows the average response time for a monitoring center to dispatch police is 15 to 20 minutes. That's not a warning, that's a timer. Real deterrence is environmental manipulation that increases the perceived risk of the target. First lever, lighting. Not just any lighting, specifically, bright, motion-activated lighting that illuminates the threat. Not you. Most residential security lighting is positioned to make the home look welcoming. You want the opposite. You want dead zone shadows near the structure with bright light flooding outward. Anyone approaching your home from outside should be illuminated while the windows stay dark. This also means using interior light timers on multiple circuits. A home that has light cycling in different rooms throughout the evening reads as occupied to outside observation. Homes that go fully dark at a consistent time read as empty and scheduled. One of those is a much easier target than the other. Second lever, concealment removal. Burglars don't choose randomly. They case. They observe. Dense hedges directly adjacent to windows and doors or cover, and they are your enemy. Trim everything within 6 feet of entry points below knee height. A threat crouching behind a 4-foot hedge next to your door is invisible from the street. Remove the hedge entirely or cut it to 18 inches. Either way, you've eliminated a staging area that makes the threat's job quieter and safer. Make their job exposed and fast and uncomfortable, and they walk to the next house. Third lever, social signaling. This is the one that sounds soft until you think about it hard. Maintained landscaping, cars in the driveway at variable times, lights at different hours, evidence of a dog, evidence of multiple people, all register as higher-risk targets. A dog, by the way, does not need to be a guard-trained Belgian Malinois to be effective. The behavioral research on this is consistent. The presence of any dog increases perceived dwell time and noise risk for an intruder. A dog named something rugged like Diesel is a bonus. A dog named Butterscotch still barks. Fourth lever, the strategic camera position. Cameras don't stop entry, we've established that. But cameras positioned with forward visibility, visibly pointed outward toward approach paths, rather than inward toward the door, signal active observation. The psychological read from outside is, there is someone monitoring this. Camera angle matters more than camera quality. A visible camera facing the street creates a different psychological calculation than a hidden camera capturing the doorknob. We need to stop here. There is a decent chance that some of what you've already installed, or already paid for, is making you less safe than nothing. This is the part where people go quiet and uncomfortable. Good. Pay attention. Mistake 1. The magnetic alarm contact on the door frame. The standard installation goes on the door and the frame, and the alarm triggers when they separate. Normal, except most residential installations mount the magnet in the door with exposed screws on the interior. The gap between door and frame, when the door is shut, is typically 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. A thin magnet on a stick, available at any hardware store, slid into that gap, holds the reed switch closed while the door is opened. The alarm never triggers. I need you to understand that this specific technique is not obscure. It is in every basic burglary methodology document. Your alarm may be bypassable by a $4 hardware store magnet. Check your installation gap. If an external magnet can hold that contact closed while the door moves, you need to reposition the mount or use a different sensor type. Mistake 2. The fake security system. The fake ADT sign, the dome camera with no wires connected, the alarm keypad housing from Amazon with no guts in it. These work sometimes against the most casual opportunist. They fail completely against anyone who has done this before, because experienced threats know what systems look like when they're live, cable routing, panel indicator lights, the specific placement of professional installations, versus what a homeowner put up hoping for the appearance of protection. Worse, a fake system creates a false sense of security in you. You relax because you feel like you did something. You didn't. You moved a sign. Mistake 3. Single point reliance. One camera, one deadbolt, one lock on the garage, one layer of anything. This is the mindset failure from Secret 1. Manifesting as hardware. Single points don't just fail occasionally. They fail predictably, because any determined threat will probe until they find the one thing that isn't covered. The layered approach isn't more expensive than single-point reliance when you price it correctly. 3 low-cost measures with independent failure modes outperform one expensive measure every single time, because the failure mode of 3 independent systems requires defeating all 3 independent. Mistake 4, and this one is going to sting, your garage door. The emergency release cord on your garage door opener, the red handle that dangles from the trolley assembly, can be triggered from outside through the top gap in the door using a wire hook. Takes about 6 seconds. That red cord can be reached, pulled, and the door operated manually while your deadbolt on the interior door remains proudly locked. The fix is a zip tie through the release cord's latch hole. It limits the cord travel enough that a hook can't get the leverage to disengage it, while still allowing you to pull it manually from inside with a firm pull. Or remove the cord entirely and use the manual release key on the exterior lock cylinder. Either way, stop leaving that door as an ungated entry into your garage, which in most homes connects directly to the interior through a door that's often hollow core and unlocked. That's not a security system. That's a hallway with extra steps. The security industry will sell you a $3,000 monitored system with professional installation and a monthly fee that adds up to $600 a year indefinitely. I'm not saying that system has no value. I'm saying you can achieve 80% of its protection for under $150 one time, and I can prove it with math. The most cost-effective security investments, ranked by protection per dollar. Door frame reinforcement kit, door armor or equivalent, about $60, and it addresses the single highest probability failure mode in residential forced entry. If your door is only getting one upgrade, it's this one, not the lock, the frame. Window pin locks, self-installed in an afternoon. Total hardware cost across an average home, $15 to $25. The kind of protection that a $300 window sensor system provides against lateral entry is approximately zero if the window frame itself can be forced. The pin lock addresses the frame. Do the pins first. Motion-activated LED floodlights. Single fixture cost, $25 to $40. Install 2 at front approach, 1 at back. Total material cost, $90. $90. These do more deterrence work per dollar than any camera, alarm sign, or monitored service on the market, because they change the environment for the threat in real time. A person who suddenly has 2,000 lumens pointed at their face while crouching at your back door has a problem that no amount of planning prepared them for. A door security bar, the kind that wedges under the door handle and contacts the floor at an angle. $20 to $30 at any hardware store. For an interior door that you're on the other side of, this is the backup layer that matters when everything else has failed. The physics of a door bar under compression are not breakable with a shoulder. The floor absorbs the force. This is why hotels have them. Total, under $200. You've addressed the frame, the windows, the lighting, and the last interior line of defense. That outperforms most monitored alarm systems in terms of what actually stops entry. The one thing worth spending real money on, if your budget allows. A solid core exterior door. Solid core doesn't mean solid, it means a wood composite or mineral fill interior, rather than the hollow nothing inside a standard residential door, plus installation. But even a solid core door on a soft frame with a 3/4 inch strike plate is still a security failure. Do the frame first. Always the frame first. One more line item that gets ignored because it's embarrassing to overlook. Your secondary locks. Most people have a deadbolt and stop. They don't have a chain or bar lock on the interior side. The chain lock is almost useless. A 1-inch gap is enough to get a foot in, and once a foot is in, the chain comes apart fast. What you want instead is a door reinforcement bar mounted to the actual door surface at a downward angle, with the floor bracket inset 3 inches from the door base. That bracket is what absorbs the force. It transfers kick energy down into the subfloor rather than laterally into the frame. $30. Resists over 1,000 pounds of force in documented testing. It is the most underrated security product in the home improvement aisle, sitting between the drawer pulls and the doorknobs. Looked past every single day. Don't look past it again. Here's the number that matters. The average residential burglary takes 8 to 12 minutes. Total. The average burglar abandons a target after 60 seconds of failed entry. Your job is not to build an impenetrable fortress. Your job is to run out their 60 seconds. Every item in this list does exactly that. Stack them and the math becomes ridiculous in your favor. Let me tell you something about vacation posts on social media that might ruin your next trip. In documented analysis of burglaries where the suspect was apprehended and interviewed, law enforcement found that a growing percentage involved prior surveillance through social media, photos geotagged to the home, posts announcing departure dates, check-ins at airports. You are not informing your friends you're in Cancun. You are informing every person who has ever had access to your account, and every person who has access to theirs, and every data broker who purchased that information, that your home is empty and you're not coming back for 10 days. This is not alarmism. This is the DOJ's documented pattern of residential burglary facilitation. Post-vacation photos when you're home. The appearance of occupancy while away requires almost nothing. Lights on timers, multiple circuits, staggered times that vary day to day. Not the same light on from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. every night like a metronome. Varied. Unpredictable. The same randomness you produce by actually living there. Mail and packages. A full mailbox is a countdown timer visible from the street. USPS hold mail costs nothing. Amazon delivery holds or redirect take 2 minutes to set up. Every package sitting on a porch for 24 hours is a data point that confirms absence. The interior and exterior appearance of activity. Fresh tire tracks. A car moved occasionally by a trusted neighbor. Trash cans moved out on collection day and back on the appropriate day after. These are details. Details create a pattern. The pattern is occupied. Occupied houses are higher risk targets, and higher risk targets get skipped. If you have a security system with remote monitoring, review the alerts daily while away. The monitoring center calls you, but if the event is a broken window at 3 a.m., what matters is whether a neighbor was asked to check in, whether the system is loud enough to be heard outside, and whether the police dispatch time in your area is 4 minutes or 40 minutes. Know your response time. Call your local non-emergency line and ask, they will tell you. That number changes what you rely on. In rural areas with 30-minute response windows, the alarm is a deterrent only, not a protection. Plan accordingly. One hardware note: exterior door locks left in the same configuration for years are eventually defeated by wear patterns that become readable on the key face. If you're leaving for extended periods, consider a keypad entry system, not because it's more secure against a determined threat, but because it eliminates the duplicated key problem. A duplicated key in a neighbor's spare drawer, a contractor's pocket, a property manager's box is a risk that grows over time. Keypad codes can be changed in 30 seconds. Everything we've built so far is prevention. This is the other conversation, the one people skip because it forces them to finish the sentence they started and then backed away from. It does fail. Sometimes the layers aren't enough. Sometimes the timing is wrong. Sometimes the situation isn't a burglary at all. It's a disaster, a civil disruption, a power outage week, where the environment itself changes. Protocols exist for exactly those moments, and the absence of a protocol in that moment does more damage than the absence of hardware. The emergency protocol is built in 3 pieces. Piece 1, a safe room. Not necessarily a dedicated room with a reinforced door, though that's ideal. At minimum, a room you have pre-identified as the rally point for your household in the event of an emergency entry. This room has 3 characteristics. A door that locks from inside, a communication device that doesn't depend on the same circuit as the rest of your home, and a clear line of sight to the room's single entry point. That last one is not an option. Anyone defending from a room needs to know exactly where the threat is coming from. A safe room with 2 entry points is a death trap with nice curtains. Pre-brief everyone in your household on where that room is and what "go to the room" means, and you do it once. The alternative is a household making individual real-time decisions in the dark under adrenaline, and those decisions will scatter. Piece 2, communication under failure conditions. Cell networks collapse during extended emergencies. They get overloaded during localized crises. The protocol must include a communication method that doesn't require cellular infrastructure. A battery-powered or hand-crank NOAA weather radio picks up emergency broadcast regardless of cell status. For communication out, a pre-arranged check-in protocol with a contact outside your immediate area, someone who can relay your status and receive information about conditions, works better than trying to reach local contacts who are experiencing the same disruption you are. Piece 3, the decision to shelter or leave. This is the one nobody thinks through in advance. and it kills people every single time there's a large-scale emergency. The default for most people is to shelter. In most scenarios, that's correct. Movement during an active threat is higher risk than a secured position. Fire, rising water, structural compromise. A sustained threat with time advantage. The protocol needs a clear preset threshold for when sheltering ends and movement begins. Not a feeling. A threshold. If X happens, we leave. We go to this location. We take this with us. Write it down. Put it somewhere everyone in the household can find it without power. This sounds like paranoia, right up until the moment it's the only functional document in the house. One number. The UNC Chapel Hill study of 400 convicted burglars found that the majority, 60%, reported that an occupied feeling home was enough to cause them to abandon the attempt entirely. Not a camera. Not an alarm. The appearance of someone home. Everything in this video compounds to produce that appearance, that friction, that perception. You are not building a bunker. You are building a signal that says, this is not worth your time. The math tips back to your favor at every layer you add. Final punch. 7 concepts, 1 system. The difference between them is whether you do the work today or decide there's time to think about it. Your door frame has already failed. That's the truth. Your window latches are not locks. Your garage emergency cord is someone else's key. Most threats don't want to fight. They want a quick, quiet exit with whatever's valuable. Give them nothing quick. Give them nothing quiet. Every second of friction you've built into this system is a second they didn't plan for. The question isn't whether you can afford to do this. The question is whether you can afford the morning you wake up and wish you had. Build the layers. Do it this week, not next weekend. This week.